So to move on to our next topic, which is entitled Clark Today, Setting the Record Straight. I'm delighted to welcome a senior advisor for the Clark International Airport Corporation. He's been doing this role since 2005. He's also been an air transport advisor to the Aviation Foundation. And Captain Solis' career in the aviation industry spans nearly 5 decades. When he was originally started as an engineering specialist with Philippine Airlines. Captain Benjamin Solis is going to talk us through Clark Today, Setting the Record Straight. Please welcome Captain Solis.
Forward slide to reverse the slide.
Okay. May point there. Thank you, Mark. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As you can see, I'm supposed to talk about Clark Today, setting the records straight. I think that subject they assigned to me is going to make me the bad boy for the day. Clark International Airport today. The twin airport concept. Why Clark as a major gateway and a metropolis? There are some of the things I would like to bring forward today. So what is Clark International Airport today? If you look at the chart, it ends up in 2011. I stopped at that because I would like to talk about 2012. 2012 has been a banner year for Clark International Airport. It is the year that Clark hit 1.3 million passengers. It's also the year that Clark eventually carried 5 million passengers. It is the year also that AirAsia started its operation. It is also a year that Sea Air transformed itself into Tiger Airways. It is also the year that Dragon Air started their flights between Hong Kong and Clark. All of this, especially during the last quarter of 2012, has brought so much demand in Clark that Clark International Airport Authority had to innovate. They had to create tents on one side of the terminal to accommodate the influx of over 1 million passengers. This is not something that they have not anticipated. As far back as 2 years ago, studies have shown that by 2012, Clark International Airport hit about 1.2, 1.3 million passengers. So it did. Chichos had to order the installation of tents to accommodate more than about 500,000 people that was going to use the terminal at the end of 2012. Why? Because 2 years before that, there were already studies by Clark to rebuild and expand the present terminal. Phase 1 was done. It upgraded the capacity of the terminal from 1.2 to 2.5 passengers. A second phase was supposed to be done also last year, increasing the capacity of the terminal from 2.5 to 4 million passengers. That did not happen. And this is why I'm anxious about the situation, because the airlines also operating into Clark today have provided us their fleet plan for the next 5 to 10 years. As you can see, on 2030 alone, Clark will already hit 6 million passengers. By 2014, it will go up to 9 million passenger seats. So even at a low load factor of 60%, you will see that even on this year, there could be as much as about 3.6 million passengers already carried by the airlines. On 2014, it can go up to as much about 6 million passengers. So what's going to happen? You can go up to 3.6 to 5 million passengers in a couple of years, and your terminal has a capacity of 4. Stretch it up maybe to 4.5. So the question I would like to ask this morning is, what are we going to do? Putting up a new terminal will take 3 or 4 years. What do you do with the plans, with the fleet plans of the various airlines that are operating in here? What do we do? Put more tents until it's not fun anymore to put more tents? So, okay then, let's look at the problem. NAIA and Clark will always be related. They are the only two major airports in Luzon, and both are scheduled to become premier gateways. Studies about 2 years ago made by our friends JICA shows that 12 hours of each day in NAIA are peak hours of aircraft operations. As you can see from the graph, way back on the period of the study, 2010 and to 2012, NAIA was exceeding the aircraft movement, designed aircraft movements for the runways by almost 40%. Studies have shown that NAIA's runway has a capacity of about 36 movements an hour. An aircraft movement is either a takeoff or a landing. As you can see from the chart, some of the hours of the day, there are over 60 flight movements already in the runway, way above the capacity of this. A congestion in NAIA will create also a problem for Clark, because if NAIA cannot take the capacity of all the flights that are coming in or being pushed by the airlines, then Clark has to be ready to take them. This is so because NAIA is already hitting over 30 million passengers, 20 million of which are the domestic. The domestic has been growing by about 14% already this year, which is expected because Asia-Pacific region is also growing at 42%. Because of the congestion of NAIA, NAIA was forced to declare the airport as a level 3 airport. And under the conditions, under the rules of a level 3 airport, nothing should move in the airport or in the runways without a slot time. So it has been agreed to appoint a slot coordinator to manage the movements of each and every aircraft that uses NAIA. And it's also been agreed that such movements should be brought down to 40 movements an hour. If slot movements are designed, or the movements between flights are designed at 40 movements an hour, that means one movement separate from the other would be about 1 minute and 30 seconds. So this, if strictly applied, will reduce Manila's capacity by about 30 to 40 flights a day. So where will these 30 or 40 flights a day go? NAIA was designed just before World War II. The uncontrolled expansion of Manila into a metropolis has pushed NAIA into a corner of the metropolis. It sits in a very tight and narrow corner of the city where access to it from any direction goes from the same vicious sectors of the metropolis. Many countries have moved their airports outside of their city limits. Japan, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, Incheon, Bangkok, and Taipei. Metro Manila is bounded on the west by the sea and on the east by the mountain range. The narrowest portion is along the Pasig River. East to west. This caused the population to balloon north and south of the Pasig River. Arterial roads to centers outside Metro Manila are reached via roads located at the narrowest band of the city, compressing rapid movements. The greater part of the traffic movement is north and south, and vice versa, passing through the center roads of the metropolis and reducing travel time to very slow, painful levels. That is why, like John Forbes has said, there is a need to look at both airports and their usefulness to the region. Today, I will propose that concept to make Clark and NAIA twin airports. Clark International Airport is 100 kilometers from most business centers in Metro Manila, rendering travel time tedious and unattractive to air travelers. A rapid rail system is only a part solution to Clark accessibility, as it would only be good to passengers from the National Capital Region, but unattractive to the populations south of the metropolis, as travel time will triple. To put another rail system going south would be an overly expensive proposal. A mass rapid rail system to Clark on day one is a risky proposition, as it will take many years before the airport will have the volume of passengers to make the rail system work. I have seen in 2011 some studies in the OTC that showed that a rapid rail system from the business districts of Manila to Clark will cost about $25 million per kilometer. So that means an investment of $2.5 billion to put a rail system. That's big money. I don't know whether the government has it or the private sector is willing to put it up. But looking at the MRT and LRT, and you see, you read on the newspapers, you hear on the television, that the MRT alone carries 530,000 passengers over the 15 kilometer stretch every 15 minutes of the day. That's 180 million passengers per year. No airport in the world has such a volume. Now, when you're talking about 100 kilometer distance, how much passenger can you generate? So if you try to put priorities of the rail system before expanding and putting Clark into proper perspective, you might end up with a slow-growing airport and a bankrupt rail system. The geographical situation of Metro Manila and its adjoining growth area demands a twin airport or a dual airport concept. Some of you have seen this. Chichos used this once in his presentation. Take a look at the map. The blue area is north of Pasig. The red area is south of Pasig. Look at the population in both of this catchment area. And look what we have. Everything narrows down where Pasig River is. Where the blue and the red line meets is Pasig River. And that's where also everybody has to cross. you will see the bridges along that side, starting from Johns, MacArthur, Quezon Boulevard, Ayala, Nactahan, Guadalupe, all the way to Pasig. This is what is causing the traffic in Manila to choke, thereby creating movements, creating populations north and south of the metropolis. But look at the population, it's almost the same. If you look at mankind, many centuries back, when men started to hunt, when men started to barter, they walk about an hour away in our time. That would be about 5 to 7 kilometers. When the horse and buggy was created, men had transportation. He started to trade. He started to look for a wife 10, 12 kilometers away. That would be about an hour. When the automobile and the truck came into being, man traded in bigger scale and farther. At that time, an hour's trip would be about 60 to 70 kilometers by an automobile or a truck. When the railway came in, man expanded his horizon from his domain to about 100 and 120 kilometers. Today, we have the 747, we have the 777, we have the 380s. These machines will take you 900 kilometers away in 1 hour. So as you can see, distance since time immemorial is an irrelevant figure. It is a flexible, number. What has always been the case is speed, time elapsed, and the energy to travel. So if you use these two airports and focus the communities surrounding it, you will see that everybody will be within 1 hour of this airport. This makes a dual airport concept the better option and the cheaper option for the government. So these are my recommendations. NAIA should not be replaced. It should serve as a southern gateway to Greater Capital Region, a twin to Clark International Airport. NAIA should not be operated beyond its capacity limits and should be returned to IATA Level 2 status by bringing down its operating levels to design capacity. First of all, operating it beyond its capacity is dangerous. It's increasing flight risk. Improvement of NAIA should be on the enhancement of its facilities rather than on expansion of its infrastructure. You cannot expand the airport any bigger than its 600 hectares of land. Improve the terminals, improve its surroundings. General Honrado is now doing a fine job in improving Terminal 1. If you walk into Terminal 1 now, you will see the difference. That is because somebody said it's the worst terminal in the world. My recommendations for Clark. Clark should be the northern twin of NAIA, an emerging major gateway to Greater Capital Region. Clark served the role of rationalizing NAIA's capacity challenges by providing the airlines the opportunity for a second gateway in Luzon. Clark at present is the hub of low-cost carriers, serving the Philippines both in the domestic and international destinations. As a first step, Clark expansion as a major hub and gateway is to expand the facilities to serve these low-cost carriers. Since LCCs have special requirements for operation, it is recommended that a budget terminal be constructed to service these carriers and provide for their expansion in the next 10 years. The concentration of LCCs in Clark and their eventual expansion in network size will create a market forecasted to reach a throughput of 15 million passengers in 10 years' time. Legacy carriers will ride on the traffic buildup of the LCCs, making it possible to plan for the construction of a full-service terminal to cater to all types of carriers 5 years from the construction of the budget terminal. And it's happening. As you have heard, Mr. Luciano said, the giant Emirates is going to operate into Clark by October 1. Under the land use plan, a full-service gateway terminal with a capacity up to 80 million passengers can be put in Clark, supported by 2 more parallel runways. So when you have all of this, why can't we not talk about Clark as a major gateway and an aerotropolis? Take a look at this and look at it closely. Clark has all the ingredients already, and I'm sure Greg will agree. It's all the ingredients already to set up an aerotropolis. You have recreation centers, you have industrial zones, you have zones for mixed use, you have zones that are aviation related, and you have zones already existing that are for components and creation of electronics and other electronic stuff. And reinforced in the location of Clark are the different small towns around Clark that also have their own industrial zones. And of course, 40 minutes away is the giant Subic area that's also is being transformed to another industrial zone. And then, of course, you have the smaller, the bigger towns like San Fernando and San Angeles also at the back of Clark that can help contribute in the development of the airport. The old thinking was you put an airport in the center of a city so that the airport will support the growth of the city. That model has changed. Many countries in the world, China, Korea, the US, and Europe, takes out their airport and create communities around the airport for the sole purpose of supporting that airport, so that those airports become vital to the growth also of the community and vice versa. Or else you'll end up with a NAIA being pushed to a corner of the metropolis because the metropolis is not associated in the growth and the protection of the airport itself. 2 years ago, with the help of the US aid, Clark hired ACOM, a very well-known airport designer, to do a land use plan, with the idea that the entire complex should be divided into business zone. By dividing it into business zone, you would be creating opportunities for the private sector to participate in the development of the airport. So as you can see, it's divided into a business zone for logistics, business zone for aviation-related opportunities, a business zone for commercial business like hotels, malls, and other things. And at the same time, it also has business zones that will support aircraft operation. As you can see, the blue line is where Singapore Airlines is right now, the maintenance, repair, and operations facility. It's about 70 hectares. Behind it is the proposed cargo village, which is also about 70, 80 hectares. And of course, down here is the well-known 170 hectares of the Global Gateway City. And farther up in there, on that huge orange section, is a mixed-use thing. That's about 300 hectares. And if you look at where the Gateway Terminal is designed to be, that's 700 hectares of land, 100 hectares larger than the entire NAIA. And with it, to support all of this, you have a runway west of the present runway, which is going to be about 4,000 meters, that will take the biggest aircraft in the world. And with that runway, you can do simultaneous operations with the present runway. And further down, about 800 meters from the present runway right now, would be a smaller runway that would be alternating with all the two other runways in taking up the flight. So as you can see, you can go to the Ayala and offer them 70 hectares of commercial operations. You can go to Singapore Airlines and offer them an aviation-related 70 hectares where they can build their maintenance and operations. All of these are envisioned to bring forward the concept of Clark International Airport as a premier gateway and also as an aerotropolis. So with all of this, you can see we are on the way. Take a look at who is in there. Employments in 2011 of 64,000, exports of 4 billion. You see the big names, Yokohama, Texas Instruments, and all the big names also in the airline industry. They are there. They have set up camp in this airport. So it's really time to start moving. GGLC will most probably be the cradle of the concept of the aerotropolis because it has all the ingredients: a logistic park, a town center, an aero park, and a business park all into one. They will create the cradle for an aerotropolis. And with big names, SI Engineering has been there for about a couple of years. They're building the second hangar. They're building a third for wide-body aircraft, and soon they will also be putting up a repair facility for the giant 380s. And supporting them are also other MRO companies, guys who can do the interiors of an aircraft. And down to even the smaller type of aircraft, the people are there already to build and help the airport. And within GGLC, you will have the Medical City Hospital is coming up. That will serve as a trauma hospital center for the airport. That will be for the residents living inside the fence area of the airport. That will be a hospital that can be used for medical tourism. Your DOT would love to see that. And if you look at that map, the one with the encircled one is the exact location of the proposed low-cost terminal. The entire area assigned to the low-cost terminal is 64 hectares, so that you can have a terminal that can have as much as 30 million passengers throughput and a parking bay of about 36 parking bays for any expansion of the airlines. Again, with the aid of US8, Clark has hired consultants to do a financial and conceptual study of the budget terminal for submission to NEDA as a first step in later on the construction of. As you can see, that shows conceptually the parking bays. Since it's a low-cost terminal, you don't have the sophisticated gate. It is designed to appear, and it will have 16 parking bays with 2 parking bays that is good for wide-body aircraft at the end. The terminal, as you can see, has a floor space of only 18,300 square meters. It is designed for faster processing of passengers from the entry gates back to the boarding gates. As you can see, if you look at it, that portion over there, you have about 68 checking counters. At the entrance, you have 10 X-ray machines that will process the passenger much faster. We are trying to achieve the IATA level 2 service of processing passengers within 15 minutes from entry to the boarding gates. It's friendly. You'll have even 2 parking buildings where you can park and fly, and you can walk from that building all the way to your boarding gates overcovered. As you can see, we have a 4-lane road surrounding the parking base so that the arrival and the departure traffic will not clash with each other. You look at the profile of the terminal, you will see that you can walk from the parking all the way to your boarding gates without being under the elements. And of course, as usual, SIAC management is always having their forward thinking. They know that as they grow, accessibility to Clark will become an issue. So they have talked to Ayala Land, and they jointly put up a bus terminal system in Trinoma. This is a first step to having a full city check-in, like you see in Hong Kong in some of the big cities. With Trinoma and its location, that air passenger terminal will be 1 hour away from Clark International Airport. Again, like we said, the idea of being 1 hour away can be met without very huge investment. If you go to Taipei and the Taoyuan Airport, you will see that airport now has a capacity of over 50 million. It is serviced by 15-minute interval efficient bus service going down to Taiwan. I take it almost every month because I'm always there that often. There are some of the bus companies that are serving it now. Very cheap, 200 pesos one way. That's cheaper than any taxi you take in Metro Manila to go to Naiya. So what are the next steps? Simple. 2013, full implementation of the land use plan. Let the private sector participate in the development of the airport. In many airports, 70% of its earnings are not really out of aeronautical expenses, aeronautical revenues. They're also always gained from the other commercial establishments that are located within the airport complex. Phase 2 expansion of Terminal 1. It is very important, as you can see in my earlier slides. Even at Phase 2, expansion of the present terminal, you will only have a capacity of 4 to 4.5 million when the airlines are trying to get to 6 million capacities already quite quickly this year. Then, of course, completion of the feasibility and financial studies of the budget terminal to be submitted to NEDA, hopefully within the first quarter, to avoid, anyway, the slow pace that comes through with government during an election year. 2014, the budget terminal should be bidded out under the public-private partnership or PP program, so that in 2.5 years, at what the engineers say, you will have a 15 million terminal in Clark. And then, of course, again, trying to anticipate the future, you must complete a study. We must complete a study for a full cargo terminal. No joke. If you look at what the airlines are trying to do, we have about 100 flights a day operating in Clark, somewhere between 2015 to 2016. So even if you are only being serviced by an Airbus 320, even on full load, an Airbus 320 can still carry between 1 to 1.5 tons. If you have 100 flights a day, you'll have 100 tons going, you'll have 100 tons coming in. That's 200 tons of cargo possible a day. You need a cargo terminal to process it. We have 70 hectares of a designed cargo village that the terminal can be constructed. Then, of course, 2017, hopefully, completion of the budget terminal first phase. And 2018, when all of these other things, smaller things are done, then somebody can sit down and conceptualize the start of a giant gateway terminal. So it's really time to change. It's really time to think of change. I quote from the book, Aerotropolis. It says, from one of the contributors, Mr. Alvin Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And from the author himself, John Casarda, I would like to quote, there is no magic bullet in economic transformation. True transformation comes about when people across and within all sectors of government, education, business, and industry, not for profit, arts, or culture, come together in genuine partnership for the common good. It comes about when bureaucratic impediments are swept aside. It comes about when the intertwined with basic improvements, a few bold experiments are launched. And it comes about when the public and private sectors come together to invest the resources needed to stimulate transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and thank you for listening.